It's been a few years since Super Smash Bros. Ultimate has released, and we've had so much content to appreciate, whether it's the giant-ass roster of characters, the amazing music to listen to, and of course, the absolutely bizarre or fun stages to play through. Now, whether you play competitive or for fun, I think that the regular stages do have a lot of great charm and references and aesthetical value that I think would be fun to rank, basically. You guys voted for this one over the Final Smash one, so after this video, I'll obviously be ranking the Final Smashes. The only rule that I want to bring up is that, with like one or two exceptions, competitive doesn't really factor here. All the stages I'm going to be ranking are based off of like their hazard forms, like no hazardless, you know, obviously it's a stage tier list, so I have to mention every stage, not just the legal ones. But I'm going to mention that only two stages really truly factor, in my opinion, in terms of competitive play. Everything else is just strictly for fun. Without further ado, let's begin. So here's a pretty strong start with a really faithful stage not just to Mario 64, the most recent game before Smash 64's release, but also Mario in general in a way. Look-wise, I love how the background references the opening hub in front of Peach's castle in 64, and the decor like the checkerboard floor with the red stairs, the sign, the little trees and everything, it's a really nice touch as well. This stage is like a basis for a standard platform fighter stage with interesting geometry, such as the triangles in the corner or the bumper at the top, which could lead to some pretty funny interactions. Even though this stage could be somewhat considered on the more generic side as far as stages go, since there's not really too much crazy or gimmicky about this stage, I think this one's really solid and fun because of it, so I think this one goes in the B rank. Other stages later on would do this a little bit better with more interesting stuff, but as a first stage for Smash 64, this is actually a pretty damn good one. Congo Jungle. To start off, it's very pretty. I like the vibrant colors, the aesthetic matching the Super Nintendo Donkey Kong Country games, the pretty sunset in the background, it all looks really nice. But the stage itself, in terms of like how you actually play in the stage, it's pretty bare bones for me. I think the barrel underneath doesn't do much, and the layout's just awkward in general with these weird slants in the middle and the top platforms. It's just not a very fun stage to really play. It's nothing outright awful, but it's not very fun either, so I think D rank is fair for this one. F is only really going to be for like legitimately horrendous stages, so yeah, I'm going to go D rank on this one. I don't really have much to say about it otherwise. Next up, Hyrule Castle. I think the idea of the top of Hyrule Castle as a stage is a really nice one, and like Peach's Castle, they used the most recent title as a basis, in this case being Ocarina of Time. This is one of the bigger stages in 64, and I think it's pretty fun, especially with 4 to 8 players. The little greenhouse and tornadoes is the main thing that makes the stage a bit more interesting than the barren feeling that Congo Jungle gave me, and despite not being a big Zelda nut, I really do like this stage. I honestly think B rank is probably the best I could give it though, because like Peach's Castle, there's other stages in the future that would actually do this a lot better, and in terms of bigger stages, especially from Zelda, I think we all know what I'm referring to, but we'll get there. So yeah, I think B rank is fair. Super Happy Tree. This stage is okay. You know, it's big, it has its moments, and, you know, it's nice looking, I suppose. I kind of wish they went with something a bit more on the, like, Super Nintendo side of things for this stage, instead of, like, going back to Nintendo 64 stuff for recency bias. Which, I know I get it, it makes sense to do recency bias, and I know that Melee and Brawl will eventually do something that I kind of wish they did here, but as for this stage in general, I think it's just okay. I know that, like, the cloud in the far, like, right is, like, supposed to be, like, campy and shit, but, like, I mean, it's nothing really to write home about, honestly, especially when you're playing free-for-alls. I think the stage is fine. Like, the slants are okay. They're not as awkward feeling as, like, Congo Jungle is. I don't mean to keep bringing that stage up in a bad light, but it's just, like, I really don't like that fucking stage. Yeah, C rank for this one. Nothing really else to say about it. I know it's, like, based off of, like, Yoshi's story and stuff, but I don't really care for Yoshi's story, so I don't really care for this stage. As for Dreamland 64, I think it's pretty obvious, but this one's going in S rank. I mean, it's Dreamland 64, what do I else have to say besides the fact that it's iconic? It has a really great layout, considering that's just Battlefield before Battlefield was an actual stage. It doesn't have anything like crazy, but it's just so fun and consistent, and I like that about this stage. I like when stages are a bit more chaotic, or kind of like, you know, different and zany and shit, but this is so simple, and sometimes that's all you really need. Aesthetically, it's really nice. I don't really care for Kirby as a series, but the aesthetic and music is always pretty decent, and Dreamland is no exception to that. And going from one S to another, we have Saffron City, a stage I absolutely love. This was one of my favorite stages in Smash 64 as a little kid, and it's still one of my favorite stages today. Seeing cameos like Charmander or Porygon are great, and I think the stage has a pretty decent layout. And look-wise, it gives off huge vibes of the Pokemon anime, which probably was deliberate given the time of release. And Saffron City was actually a pretty good choice for a Gen 1 stage, as it is a big city. Some may argue maybe Celadon was probably better, given that it's like a huge shopping center, but Saffron's still a pretty good choice. Also bonus points because this town in Pokemon Red and Blue actually has Sabrina as the gym leader, my favorite character in the series, so, you know, that also helps. Last of the 64 stages, we have Mushroomy Kingdom, and I have to say this is definitely a great way to end off the 64 lineup. The main thing to note is the aesthetics. This, along with Mushroom Kingdom 2, which we'll get into later, looks really great, as they take all the original assets without feeling plastered in. They could have done like a basic background, but they got like a Buzzy Beetle playing on a spring, Koopas walking, a full level layout. This is a really great stage in terms of its effort. I like that you actually have a little detail like, you know, you could go through the pipes to actually spawn in a different part of the map. That's a really nice touch as well. The corner of the stage on the far left is also really great for a lot of chaos. This stage is just so much fun. I think that is definitely my favorite stage for Mario in terms of aesthetics, and as far as level designs goes, honestly, yeah, probably my favorite Mario stage too. Honestly though, not an S rank though. I think this one just goes into A, because I think that this stage, is my only issue with it is probably just that it's a little bare at the top, a little more spacious, nothing bad, but I think this stage isn't perfect. I think this stage is just like really, really great. I think A is just fair. For Melee's Peach's Castle, I thought going into this one I was going to maybe put like a C, because it's like, you know, it's a fine looking stage, a little too simple at first glance, but you know what, after playing this more and more with friends, I've grown to really love this stage. The stage itself is just the roof of Peach's Castle from Mario 64, which is a nice idea for a stage, and you know, having like the giant like wall, tower, whatever in the center, and you got like the occasional color blocks that remind me of Super Mario World with the Banzai Bill. It's nothing that's like too crazy, but it's still really fun. My only issue with the stage is the look. Like, it's still a nice looking stage, like graphically obviously, but like if you compare it to like Melee where it's more vibrant and stuff, I feel like this is a little bit more like washed out, doesn't feel as Mario, which is probably a really stupid nitpick. Like when I look at the background, I think more like Fire Emblem or Legend of Zelda. It's not awful, obviously, it's just a minor nitpick. And you know what? This is just a really great stage, so I think A rank for this one. I'm actually really happy with that, because again, I thought I was going to put like C, or maybe even a D rank, who knows. But nah, this stage is really fun. Alright, now we have our first auto-scrolling level, Rainbow Cruise. I think it's okay, I guess. I mean, honestly, as far as auto-scrolling stages go, I don't think they're really that bad in most cases, mainly because when I'm playing for fun, my mentality is just to have for, like, fun and shit, like, not really about, like, if the stage is good or not in most cases, and this one is just pretty average. The original level is based off Mario 64's Rainbow Cruise, which, to be fair, was also as barren as you can get. Barely any details, giant sky, you know, nothing really was that interesting about the level. I think this stage honestly kind of replicates that really well. The background does remind me of Tengu Man stage from Mega Man 8. That's a nice touch. Honestly, I feel like this stage's layout never really feels like it does much with it. So honestly, I think I'm gonna put this one in C. Normally I would put a D in this case because I feel like it's super boring. But I don't think the stage layout is awkward. I don't think it's awful, you know. It's just there, and considering that if I'm comparing this to other auto-scrolling levels, I think this one is probably one of the better ones, which is not saying much for the other auto-scrolling levels in this game, even though I don't think there's that much off memory. Congo Falls is an easy S rank, if I was going off aesthetics alone. This stage is really gorgeous. I love jungle aesthetics, and this is no different. Going into camera mode, you can like see like other areas that I really wish had more like of a view, because this is a really beautiful like place to see. Problem is, this fucking stage is so cramped and awkward. I hate the layout. I hate how it feels to just travel through the stage. You know, the little rock in the corner doesn't really do much. The claptrap doesn't do much. This stage is just pretty shitty. D tier. The only thing that stops it from being F is the fact that this, again, the stage is very pretty. But other than that, the stage has nothing else to offer for me. And the track record just keeps getting worse for Donkey Kong stages because Jungle Japes is not so much better. In fact, it's the same for me. It's not as bad as Congo Falls because at least it doesn't feel as awkward, but it's so empty and dull. It's pretty. The river is something I know that is sort of infamous with this stage, even though it's not that hard to deal with. I don't care for this stage at all. Like, yeah, okay, it's cool, you can see Cranky in the middle, you know, rocking on his chair, whatever. That's a neat little cameo, I guess, but this stage is so boring. These both go into D tier. There's nothing fun about either of these stages, honestly. Our next Zelda stage is Great Bay from Majora's Mask. This stage's layout is still kind of bland, kind of like Jungle Japes, but unlike Jungle Japes, this one has a much more interesting aesthetic and a few more interesting things going on. You got like this giant turtle with a tree that emerges, you got Tingle in the background, You know, you got like the ceiling in the center of the stage where a lot of chaos could happen because of the water you're swimming in. The background's also really cool as it references the moon that's going to crash in Termina until these 4 giant guys stop it, which I know references the ending of Majora's Mask. I just don't know their names because I haven't played through all of Majora's Mask. You also have this heart piece on a cliffside, which is also referencing the original level design, I believe. Although again, haven't played through all of Majora's Mask yet. And you can't even see it on the actual stage, you actually have to go off camera to see it, so they didn't even need to do that, but they did anyway, which is really cool. I think the stage is fine enough. I think C rank is probably what I'm giving it because I was thinking of putting it in B, but when I compare it not only to other stages in the game, but other Zelda stages, I realize it's pretty average. Honestly, yeah, I think C rank for this one. As for Temple, I don't think a single person will guess wrong what rank I'm putting this in. Yeah. This is easily one of Smash's most iconic stages, if not the most iconic stage for a reason. I love that the stage feels so big, but doesn't feel bloated or messy at the same time. And of course the main reason why this gets an S rank is because of Fight Club. The amount of like interesting interactions and just how much fun you can have in Fight Club is like limitless. It's just great. As for the look of the stage, I love the depiction of Zelda 2's temples, as this was basically the main reference for this stage, and it actually translated pretty well into Smash. Before I played competitive back in Brawl, I would always pick Temple. This was just such a great time, never ever a dull moment. We now move on to our first Metroid stage, and I like the Metroid series, but most of the stages aren't really it for me. I don't really hate most of them, I just don't care for them. For Brinstar, kind of on the don't care for side. I think this stage has so much potential to be really fun, but the problem with me is that it's not so much like the layout or how big the blast zones are or anything, it's just like the way the platforms feel to move on. Like, the platforms aren't really solid, so you could just like shark through them, and I'm not really big on that. You could destroy a part of the map, like those little bubble things, and yeah, the map can change depending on how you interact with it, which is kinda cool, but I don't really care for that aspect. The one thing I do like about this stage in terms of details is the Chozo that actually comes to life. That's a pretty cool touch, but other than that, I don't really like this stage. The acid doesn't really help either. It's not awful to deal with, just not as interesting as Norfair, which we'll get into later. I think this stage is just so, like, bleh, and it's, you know what? It's C-worthy, barely a C. Like, I don't think this is bad like some of the D ranks I put, but this is nowhere near to even being good, just very bleh. Yoshi's Island from Melee. This stage is so small, so awkward, so chaotic, you can't even see where shit's going on, and that's why I fucking love it. This is the one stage I think it really works with. I love Super Mario World, it's the first video game I ever played, so obviously aesthetic-wise I do have some sort of connection with this stage. I do like the detail of like the Banzai Bill and, you know, the Lakitu with the fake 1-up. That's, I mean, it's not a fake 1-up, but you get the idea. The point is, nice looking stage. I think the yellow blocks that get hit and then turn into, you know, non-solid platforms is actually a pretty cool touch for a hazard, and it makes the stage really interactive, which is cool. The pipe leads to fake kills, the hill leads to fake kills, and I actually like that in this case. This could be one of the most tense stages. This is such a great stage. As for the ranking, I'm kind of teetering between a A or a B. I think it's definitely within that. A part of me wants to say B because it is pretty tiny, but a part of me wants to say A because of all the fun I could have, and yeah, you know what? I'm kind of deciding this on the spot. I'm going with A on this one. This is a really fun stage. A part of me was going to say B, but nah. The amount of fun and memories I've had with all the different free-for-all battles on this stage is just, yeah, I gotta go with A with this one. My only downside is the name. I kind of wish I named it Dinosaur Land, given that it is the location in Super Mario World. I know it's a nitpick, but just thought it was worth mentioning. As for Yoshi's story, besides the slants in some cases, I actually really love this stage. The platforms aren't too close and cluttered like Battlefield's is, and the walls in Randall the Cloud can lead to some pretty fun stuff too. Honestly, out of all the legal stages, this is probably my second favorite, which is weird considering I'm a Belmont main, but Belmont ledge trapping isn't impossible. You could just short hop Holy Water and everything. Like I said, only sometimes competitive is actually going to mean anything, and Yoshi's story is definitely one of them. But I think it's great because you can enjoy the stage both in competitive and for fun, and the stage doesn't feel too different in either way. The look of the stage is pretty nice too, since it's very vibrant, colorful, you know, it's alright. I don't really care for Yoshi's story, where the stage comes from, but at least I like the visuals enough. I think this stage honestly gets an A rank for me. In terms of both for fun and competitive, this stage is really well designed, so I think A rank is a very deserving spot for it. As for Fountain of Dreams, it's pretty similar to Battlefield like Yoshi's story. It's not as slightly different as Yoshi's story is, but this stage is really, really pretty, and I think that's the best thing about this stage. It's just very gorgeous. Other than that, again, just another version of Battlefield. Dreamland has like its iconicness around it, and Yoshi's story is, again, slightly different. So unless you're a big Kirby fan, which I am not, I don't think there's much to offer with the stage besides just being really pretty. But that's just enough for me. I think that since Fountain of Dreams also has like a much bigger like bottom blast zone and everything, and it does make it a little more different in that case. It's pretty fun, so honestly, I'm gonna give this one a B rank, only because it's similar to Battlefield. I feel like if this was like a much more different structure, I would just say it's pretty but not that fun, but because it's based off of a structure that's pretty decently designed, I think B rank is alright. Green Greens is a pretty nice stage too. I don't like it as much as like Dreamland if I was to compare it to like the predecessor, but the bombs and blocks can be a little fun. Despite it being on the empty side, I still have a good time with the stage whenever I do decide to play it with friends. And it's cool that Wispy Wood still gets a role in a stage as a hazard without feeling forced like Dreamland. I could do without the fake fruit though, this shit's kinda stupid. B rank though, this stage is also really nice. Before I even talk about Corneria as a stage, I just want to say, with Belmonts, since they're my main, this stage sucks. The slants make the whip and cross just not work, and it just sucks to play this character on this stage. But I'm not basing it off playing the stages as Belmonts, I'm basing it off just playing the stages in general, and in that way, I really like Corneria. I feel like this stage is just right. You have like this part on the right where you could go in the back of the ship and have some pretty funny shit happen, kind of like a pseudo Fight Club in a way. The stage isn't too big or too small. You got the giant laser in the front, which could cause some chaos at random times. You got like little star wings, and I think Wolf's ship at one point comes in, and they kind of deal as extra platforms or like little extra hazards to deal with. It's fun. This is a really nice stage. I know it's like the third time in a row, but I'm going B rank with this one too. I like it a lot. Venom aesthetically is definitely my favorite of the Star Fox stages, and I love that you travel throughout the whole planet. Having the front view of the ship rather than the side is an interesting take for a stage, but nothing amazing. I think Corneria is definitely the more fun stage between the two. Also nitpick, but I think that the blast zones feel a little too tiny on this stage. If they were a little bigger, I think I'd be a little more kinder to the stage. I think the stage is just okay, so I think I'm going to put this one in C rank. Like I said, not horrendous, just okay. Pokemon Stadium 1 is obviously very iconic, but I'm going to do something a little different here, where instead of going in stage order this time, I'm actually going to talk about Stadium 1 and 2 together, because I feel like I can't talk about one stage without talking about the other. Aesthetic-wise, I think Stadium 1 does a better job filling a more Pokemon look. Stadium 2 is not bad looking, but it's more realistic looking, which I think is just a fault for it being a stage introduced in Brawl. Both stages are competitive, although I'm not sure if Stadium 1 is still a competitive stage nowadays, but if I were to pick between the two, I still say Stadium 2. The reason why I say Stadium 2 is because it has everything to offer for a competitive stage that I love. It makes it my favorite competitive stage personally. It's flat like Final Destination, has platforms like Battlefield, it's spacious and doesn't have a top platform so you don't get stuck to it all the time like in Battlefield. You have walls to wall jump off of, you can get stage spikes still, so it's not like it's a brick like Kalos is. The blast zones also don't ever feel too big or too small, like I feel like they're just right for the stage. This is just a great competitive stage, easily the best designed one in the game in my opinion. But what mostly matters is for fun, and in that case I think Stadium 1 does a better job. Stadium 2's hazards don't feel like hazards, they just feel like variations of the same thing. Oh, the floor is different now. Maybe the ground type one's a little different because it is more mountainous, but that's really the only example I could think of. The electric type one is just a conveyor belt. The wind one blows you up. The ice one's slippery. Nothing really interesting happens. In Stadium 1, you have like this water type one has like a windmill that kind of is interactive. You got like extra platforms with the grass type one. The burning building one has walls with like those trees and stuff. The mountain rock type one has like a giant mountain to the side. I think that Stadium 1 is just a more fun stage. And for Stadium 2, I want to rank it a B normally, but because competitive matters so much for this stage in particular, because I just love it competitively, I'm also giving it an A rank. Just keep in mind that these both get A rank for different reasons. If this was a strict absolutely no competitive thoughts at all for these, I would definitely say that Stadium 1 is better with an A rank, while Stadium 2 is a B rank. Finally, tackling the Earthbound series of stages, and one thing that's consistent with all the Earthbound stages is the love and detail put into them, and Ona is perfectly translated to Smash. The look is one for one, and the background details like Ness and Porky's house, the meteorite, the drugstore and arcade, cameos of the Runaway 5 bus, the Tucson market references, that alone would give it an A for me. The stage layout is pretty fun. While the blast zones are a bit small, I think that's to the stage's benefit. Each section feels distinct and fun in their own way. I honestly think this stage deserves an A rank. Honestly, mainly because of the detail and love put into it. It's fun, but I think that extra little love and care definitely helps it. I honestly don't imagine this stage is really popular with people who play free-for-alls and for fun, but for me, I actually really like this stage. For Mushroom Kingdom 2, before I say anything, I just want to say I really wish this stage was called Subcon. I know it's a really stupid nitpick, but this is not Mushroom Kingdom, this is Subcon. That's what it says in Mario 2 USA at the end. Don't know why they don't just call it that. It's not like they're spoiling anything for a game that's like over 20 years old. But that aside, this stage is awesome. I love that unlike Mushroom Kingdom 1, we get the Super Nintendo look for this stage, since the NES version of Subcon would look like an eyesore in Smash. And I love All-Stars personally more than the NES games, so it's actually a big plus for me. A part of me also kind of wishes we got some All-Stars songs in Smash, like the original rips from those games, but this is a stage tier list, not a music one, so I digress. The stage incorporating Birdo, Pidgeys, and the waterfall platform in the center is a pretty nice way to make the stage feel fun. Besides the fact that the stage feels a little flat on the bottom, I think the stage is still pretty nice. I think I'm going to put an A. It would be an S rank if the stage's geometry was a bit more interesting, but it's just such a great stage, I don't think I could really rank it any lower than an A. As for Brinstar Depths, I actually think the stage is a lot better than Brinstar, both in looks and as an actual stage for fun. I get that the stage turning around over and over with Crate in the background could be a little bit too chaotic and disruptive for people, and the fact that it can make it hard to recover at times, even with characters with pretty decent recoveries. But I think that makes this stage actually a lot more interesting, because you never really know how it's going to go. That could go for any stage in free-for-all, especially with items, but I think Brinstar Depths is a more special case in this matter. It is a little wonky how some ledges are like, they don't look like ledges, they just look like actual like things that would block you from recovering, but I guess it's more of a benefit because it means you actually get to make it and survive more than you actually would die in the stage due to bullshit. I don't really have too much of a soft spot for this stage compared to other stages, so it's not like I'm going to rank it terribly high, but I think this one goes into B rank. I would put it A rank, but the thing is, like I said, it's not exactly consistent if you would have fun on the stage or not, when other stages, while there are many chaotic things that can happen, there's still a consistent sense of fun, like in Temple or something, you know? Next for Big Blue, I love this stage. Out of all the F-Zero stages in Smash, this one definitely is one of the ones that are up there because it's just a lot of fun. A stage that has you interact with a bunch of races on a track that's constantly moving, and if you land on the road you could die almost instantly, sounds like an awful time, but thankfully the cars actually get in the way of that, and it's just a lot of chaos and messiness, which is a good thing in this case. Aesthetically, it's definitely one of my favorite stages in the game. It's based off of F-Zero X's Big Blue, which is a nice touch, although I kinda wish they would revamp it to look like maybe Mario Kart 8's Big Blue. Probably asking a little much, but it would be cool to see that kind of in Smash, you know? I also like that they actually have Falcon's ship appear, and as an F-Zero fan, at least a somewhat casual one, it's nice to recognize some of the cars and point them out in the match. I think this one is an easy A rank, it's just a lot of fun. As for Foresight, I like the stage a lot, but there could be some things about it that could be better. The references to Earthbound in and of itself, like the UFO from the beginning of the game, or Porky in the helicopter, is pretty cool. And I do love the city look. Though, similar to Peach's castle from Melee, I think the stage looked better in Melee, or at least it looked more colorful and vibrant. It still has it in Ultimate, but it's a little less obvious, you know? The two divided areas are nice, you know, nothing too crazy, but the stage is pretty decent. I think I'd give this one a C rank though, like, it's fine, you know, I think the look is better than anything else, but other than that, I don't care for the stage too much, at least especially compared to the other Earthbound stages. Onto the Brawl stages, our first one is Delfino Plaza from Super Mario Sunshine. I think this stage has a lot of nice details as it takes the overworld of Isle Delfino and just basically put it as a whole stage. And it's a traveling stage, so you get to see different sections in good detail, which is nice, but I don't really think the layouts are that interesting, and I haven't really played Sunshine personally, so I don't really have like a nostalgic connection with it. I think the stage is pretty average, so I'm just gonna go with C rank for this one. For Mushroomy Kingdom, I'm kind of torn on this one. I like the idea that it's just World 1-1, but deserted considering how old the original Mario Brothers is and everything. And the auto-scrolling isn't so bad, in fact, the stage is actually pretty fun for chaos. The only weak side for me is the aesthetics. It's a deserted Mushroom Kingdom, which I guess is a creative idea and a little funny maybe even in some cases, but I feel like I would have just rather some sort of traditional Mushroom Kingdom looking stage. Given that New Super Mario Bros. On the DS was recent around Brawl's release, I think it would have been cool to see a stage referencing that. Given that eventually in Smash 4 we would get Golden Plains, which is basically like a New Super Mario Bros. Reference, given that it references New Super Mario Bros. 2, it would have been cool to see maybe like another world from Mario that was never like its own stage represented. Kind of like maybe like the Jungle World or the Ice World or something. Actually, scratch the Ice one, that would suck, but the Jungle World doesn't sound like a bad idea. I think this one gets a B rank. I think Mario Circuit's unfortunately kind of bland. It's cool that we get a stage that represents Mario Kart, and I'm glad that we get a better Mario Kart stage later on, but this is just a walk-off with 3 awkward plats and nothing really else besides that. Look-wise, Mario Circuit isn't even that interesting either, but it makes sense that it's in Smash given that it's kind of like the level 1 or the most famous Mario racetrack or whatever, so I can see why they put it in. The only thing about the stage I really do like is the Shy Guys. Interacting with them is pretty funny, and I do love the different ways you could attack them and how they could actually hurt other players on the stage. I don't think the stage really offers much, so I'm giving this one a D rank, which I feel bad for, but it's also like, I just don't give a shit about this stage. WarioWare Inc. is a really fun stage. Taking WarioWare's gameplay and implementing it into a Smash Bros. Stage is just a really good idea for just a super fun and crazy stage. My only downside really is just the layout itself. It's a little cramped and small, but other than that, it's just so much fun that it doesn't really bother me that much. I put this one in B rank. If the layout was a little better and the blast zones weren't super tiny, I would definitely put this in A rank, but I think B rank is the best I could do for this stage. Bridge of Eldin is similar to Mario Circuit for me. It's so boring. I don't care for this stage at all. It's super bland, it's super spacious and empty, like it's nice looking, but that's all it has going for it. I don't even have as much of a connection for Zelda than I do for Mario, and I never played Twilight Princess, so why would I give a shit about this stage? D rank, this stage is not very fun. Finally, back on track to a good stage, we have Norfair from Metroid. I mentioned that Metroid stages don't really do much for me, but Norfair is the one exception. I absolutely love this stage. The main hazard in this stage is the lava, which doesn't really do like the normal acid up and down stuff that the Brinstar of Smash 64 or Melee does. Instead, what it does is it actually goes sometimes to the left, to the right, sometimes it'll be a sprinklet of lava, sometimes it will go up like it does in a traditional Metroid stage, sometimes it'll be just a giant wall coming at you from the background and you gotta hide in like the little door so you don't get hurt by the lava. I also like that the background has a bit of level design detail. Now, I'm not 100% if this is like accurate to the original Metroid or Super Metroid, but it's cool that they actually put a lot of effort in the background for this stage. I think I'm gonna put this one into S rank, honestly. Like, I never have a bad time on this stage, even when I get completely fucked. It's just so much fun that it doesn't even feel like it's because of the stage's fault, it just feels like because it's my mistake and just happenstance from all the chaos going on. Frigid Orphean's okay, I guess. The gravity gimmick is pretty fun at times, and it can lead to some funny shit, but I don't really care for the stage too much. It's cool that Metroid Prime has like a stage to represent in Smash, but not big on this one. I think this one just gets a C for me. It's pretty average. Yoshi's Island from Brawl. Not really big on this one, which is kind of unfortunate. I love Yoshi's Island. It's one of my favorite platformers of all time, and I get that the flower field will make sense as a stage given that it's probably the most known area and everything, but the Super Nintendo Yoshi Island has so many great variety of areas, and I kind of wish there were more to see. Like the jungles, the shores, the cave systems, the castles, you know, they're so distinct, but we get just the flower field, and not even in an interesting way. It's just a giant platform with weird slant, it's awkward as fuck. Not very interesting, unfortunately. I give this one a D. It's very underwhelming, and the only reason it's not an F is because, again, I love Yoshi's Island. Halberd's okay. Like I said, I don't really care for Kirby, but, you know, I could have fun on this stage sometimes. Other times, I just, it's alright, I guess. C rank for this one. F. Fuck this stage. It seems okay at first glance, but when you put triplats with awkward slants, ledges that have been glitchy for eons, and just being a bad legal stage, this is one of the rare cases where competitive actually affects my opinion so much that I really fucking hate this stage. I never enjoyed this stage in any way, shape, or form. What makes it even worse is the fact that even if you do want to play it on legal, if you do hazardless, you don't even get to see the pretty backgrounds. It's like, why is that even considered a hazard? Yeah, this stage just does not do it for me at all. Port Town Air Drive is probably the most interesting F-Zero stage. I like that it takes the GX track and translates it perfectly into a Smash stage. I also like that the racers interact here differently from Big Blue to separate them somewhat. The stage is also really nice looking. Basically got some of the best upgrades in terms of the Brawl stages going from Ultimate to Smash 4. Also changing the color scheme somewhat, in a way I kinda like. The different sections you can appear are pretty cool, the wall interacting is cool. I think this stage is interesting, but nothing super amazing. I give this one a B rank. I'm not really big on Castle Siege. Considering that this is the first Fire Emblem stage, and I'm a huge Fire Emblem fan, this one's pretty disappointing. I get what they were going for, having different maps that are in Fire Emblem, such as an outside area, an interior of a castle, and even like a volcanic map that you would see in like the Game Boy Advance games, or even Mr. D Emblem. But I don't really like this stage. I'm not big on the fact that some Fire Emblem stages are based off like generic mechanics, like seizing a castle or arenas, but we'll get there. The first area is really cramped and awkward. The second area is okay, I guess. The tiny blast zones are actually kind of a benefit and one thing that actually makes this area a little more fun. Then the other area is just like a generic volcano map with like teetering platform, which again doesn't do much. I think this stage is just very bland, D rank. This stage does not do much for me at all. Distant Planet is okay. I don't give two shits about Pikmin, but at least the stage is alright. I don't think it's terribly interesting, but it still has some pretty fun moments. The snail blorb creature, I don't remember what the fuck it's called, I don't give a fuck. This thing that eats you is pretty funny. The rain is distracting, but not terribly distracting. The small blast zones is actually a benefit to this stage. I guess I could put this one in C. I feel like it's just because it's Pikmin, I'm not even gonna lie. If this was a stage from a game I actually gave a shit about, I probably would rank it maybe a B or even an A with slightly better layout, but I think C is all I can really do for this. I don't care about Pikmin at all. Smashville's fine enough. It's just a basic-ass platform with another platform on top of it, and it just makes for an okay legal stage. I know people that really like the stage as a legal stage. I don't care for Smashville at all. The layout is eh. I think Town and City does a better job, but we'll get to Town and City later on. This one gets a C, perfectly average. Newport City is interesting for me. I feel like the stage is trying too hard to be Temple, and it's not like it's a bad attempt. There are sections of the stage I do like, but I feel like this stage is a little bit more broad and open, and that's sort of a detriment despite it supposed to being a big stage, you know? The details are really nice. The background with the actual city and being in the sprite work like the Game Boy Advance title is really cool. You got Porky on balloons in the background, a Porky statue, the funny little limousine, and of course the Chimera Hazard is really cool. But I feel like this stage isn't like super crazy. Like if you have 4 or more people, I feel like the stage is actually really good, but I don't know, I don't think this one has the same charm as Temple does. I think I'd give this one a B rank. It's really cool, and like other Earthbound stages, has a lot of love, effort, and detail put into it. Just nothing super outstanding for me. I think that Summit's okay. I kinda wish we had the melee stage Icicle Mountain more, because even though it's an auto-scrolling stage, I think it fits the gameplay to like, sort of like replicate Ice Climber more, and with the revamps that melee stages got in Ultimate, like Peach's Castle, Great Bay, and stuff, I think this stage would have definitely benefited from it. Summit's still really pretty, of course. In fact, it's one of the prettiest stages in the game, and as a stage itself, it's still pretty fun. The kinetic fun this stage has with nice references to Ice Climbers, the balloon fight fish that eats you, the funny spiking icicle, this is the best part of the stage, by the way. This stage is actually really nice. Considering that this stage is from a game I don't give a shit about, and I don't think most people have even played or care about, it's pretty impressive that I actually would rank this a B rank. This is a nice stage. I love Skyworld. This stage is funny as fuck. The multiple ceilings that are breakable and the clutch platforms make the stage really funny and chaotic, and I think you can tell at this point that I tend to really love chaos. It's also aesthetically gorgeous. Considering that the NES Skyworld had almost nothing to work with, I'm impressed that in 2008, in a pre-Kid Icarus Uprising world, we got a pretty nice Kid Icarus stage for Smash. I think this one goes into A rank. This stage has given me so many great memories, and it continues to do so to this day. Shadow of Moses Island is a stage that looks a lot better than it looks, and thank God too, because this stage looks awkward and cramped at first glance, but it's actually pretty damn fun. I like that the walls are breakable because it means that you don't feel like it's always cramped, and yeah, it's funny to see characters almost die, but then not die, and it could lead to some tense and funny situations, but since the walls are breakable, that means that the stage doesn't go on for too long and becomes a drag, which is a good thing. Gonna go B rank for this one. It's a really nice stage, but it doesn't have that extra punch that gives it that A or S rank material, you know what I mean? I feel like this is probably a really unpopular opinion, but I don't give a shit about this stage. Luigi's Mansion feels like it could have been a cool stage if maybe it was like in one particular room and it was all gothic and giant and stuff, and you know, it would have been kind of cool that way. I never played Luigi's Mansion, so I don't know what other areas could possibly be a stage or what rooms within the mansion itself, but having the whole mansion, while it makes sense and everything, it's kind of boring. Ironically, while recording for this video, I kind of discovered I had more fun this stage when you got rid of the mansion, because even though it's more broad and open, it's not awkward. I'd rather broad and open over awkward, and Luigi's Mansion is mostly awkward. I would say this one goes into D rank, only because I do like the aesthetics, and it's not horrendous, like completely dog shit. It's just very boring. Pirate Ship is another stage that's just like there, I guess. I actually did play Wind Waker back on the Wii U when it had a HD remaster, and I liked it for the most part, but the second half kind of bored me to death. The stage is not visually interesting at all. It is just water and that's it, and I get it, sailing was a big part of Wind Waker, but I don't know. Yeah, this stage has different phases, but they take way too long to come into play. Like when you get carried up by a tornado, or when a rock appears and a ship crashes, they take forever to get to that shit. For the most of the time, you're just on this boring-ass, bland-looking pirate ship. The one thing I do like about this stage is the fact that the front of the ship spikes you. That's pretty fucking funny. I know that Wind Waker has its fans. In fact, my sister is a huge fan of Wind Waker, but I don't care for Wind Waker or a stage based off it that's just the ocean, which I know is a big part of the game, so I know it's not technically at fault. It's like, yeah, it makes sense, but that doesn't mean I have to like it, you know? I think if they maybe had it like maybe where you sail to different islands in Wind Waker, kind of like how you do in the game, and maybe it's like a traveling stage of sorts, that probably would have been a lot more interesting. I don't know, you know, it's maybe too much to ask for, but I just don't give a shit about the stage. D rank. That's just basically it. I'm rambling on, but it's just fucking D rank. As a location, Spear Pillar makes a lot of sense for a stage in Smash, and I think they did a mostly good job on this one, in some ways. I do have a little bit of nostalgic bias coming in for this ranking on this stage because back when I was like 10 years old, I remember going to my cousin's house for like a holiday or something, and I caught Dialga with a Pokeball at Spear Pillar, and I kind of popped off. I was 10 at the time, so yeah, I popped off at that. So I do always have that memory to share with, and Spear Pillar will always remind me of that. But as a stage, it's fine in some ways, not fine in the other. I think the different effects are cool, like, you know, you got Cresselia attacking, you got Dialga slowing down time, a little too slow if you ask me, but it's still cool that he does it. Palkia though, fuck all of his effects. Reversing the stage, upside down shit, oh absolutely fucking not. The giant laser's cool, I guess, you know, the fact that the stage can be broken partially, kinda would prefer without it. I love chaos and I love stage spikes, I think I've mentioned that a few times, and I won't try to mention it too many times, but the fact that it happens in that stage and it can happen a little less, kinda sucks. I know that I mentioned that like some of the things that happen in stage are cool, but it's cool in concept, not so much in execution. I don't really find this type of chaos fun. It feels more like obscurity chaos rather than holy shit, that was awesome chaos, you know? The look of the stage is really nice. When it comes to Foreign Battlefield, I wish the crystals were involved more because it looks really cool, but you know, the stage is vibrant and colorful despite it having somewhat of a much more darker color scheme compared to other stages, especially in Pokemon. I think if it wasn't for the fact that, you know, I caught Dialga with a Pokeball and I have a nostalgic memory tied to Spear Pillar, I'd probably put this in D because I actually don't think it's that fun, but I'm gonna put it in C. I'll be a little generous to it. Oh boy, 75M. I mean, did anyone expect me to rank this stage high at all? This is a clear F. I mean, listen, I know people have said it's cool to reference the original Donkey Kong and all, but they could have done that without bringing one of the original maps and making it fucking ass. And even worse than the previous games because they got rid of that, like, longer platform on the right side, so now the stage is even worse, which is an incredible feat that they managed to do it. I think that when you're in Foreign Battlefield aesthetically, it's okay. A little basic, but it's arcade Donkey Kong, can't do much of it. Yeah, sorry, but it's an F rank. Mario Brothers is a similar case, like 75M, where it's really widely hated, and don't get me wrong, I hate this stage too, but I have 2 points I want to bring up to defend the stage. Even though the stage has Pac-Man syndrome and it feels inconsistent when you'll get killed or not, it leads to the stage at least being a little fun, especially when you could throw, like, the shell creepers, I think they were called back then. I don't think they're Koopas, I think they're different, but whatever. And the little crabs, you could throw them at people, and that shit's funny as fuck. I realized that I actually enjoy watching others play this stage. It's like one of those, it's different from when you're watching it rather than playing against it or as it. When I was in the middle of recording stages for this video, I actually had to sit out for this one because we had 4 people, like 4 others besides me, and whoever got last place has to sit out. I got last place in 75M, so I sat out. Not much to my disappointment though, because I didn't want to fucking play the stage. But the point is, it was so funny watching my friends scramble through the stage, and I guess the comedic effect is nice. I don't want to put this one in F rank, but I don't think the stage deserves to be in C. That's like for average. This is still shit. I'm giving this one a D rank. This is not a fun stage, but it's funny as fuck to watch. As for Hand and Bow, F. Moving on. And to cap off Brawl stages, we have Green Hill Zone. Anyone who's known me or has seen me play Smash for even just a little bit probably already knows what I'm gonna rank this stage. Yeah, this probably shocks like nobody. Obviously, this definitely has to do with some bias considering not only am I a Sonic secondary, but I'm also a huge Sonic fan, and ever since Brawl first came out, I've absolutely loved Green Hill Zone. The stage aesthetically is such a great way to mesh like a classic art style of the original Sonic 1 with like a Brawl look. I don't know how to explain it. The background is oozing with detail. You got like this loop-de-loop with a 1-up on it, which is like similar to Act 2 of the stage. You have Knuckles, Tails, and Silver as background elements as they run through the loop occasionally. Level design and rings, like platforms that move up and down. There's actual level design in the background, and I absolutely love that. As for the stage itself, it's pretty fun. The stage is kinda small, but it's my only real gripe with it. The slopes aren't too bad, and like Yoshi's Island from Melee, it leads to a lot of false kills, which is a good thing, even more so in this case, considering that the stage is, again, pretty small. I love that just like in Sonic 1, or actually most classic Sonic games that I think about it, the fucking floor could break underneath you if it gets damaged enough, which is really cool, and it could lead to some funny stuff on occasion. Also, the fact that a checkpoint is a hazard is also really fucking funny. The stage isn't really chaotic, but you know, it's Green Hill Zone. It has such a bias for me that I've just loved this stage ever since. This is clearly an S rank, and not only an S rank, but probably my favorite stage in all of Smash. That may be a really dumb reason for some, but that's still my reason whether you like it or not. To start off the Smash 4 for 3DS stages, we have 3D Land from Mario, well, 3D Land. I like this stage. It's an auto-scrolling stage but with different varieties of worlds, which is something I kind of wanted more from, like, say, Mushroomy Kingdom, for example. You got your basic grass overworld, but then you got, like, this mountainous area, and then you got a water world for, like, a split few seconds, but, you know, it's still something. My biggest issue is I feel like because this stage has such a strict blast zone, you kind of die too early in the beginning sometimes if you get really cheesed, which, you know, it could be funny most of the time, but sometimes it's a little dumb and you just want to play through the stage without, you know, like half your stocks being gone before you even get to the second area. The geometry's fine enough, and I don't think there's anything necessarily wrong with this stage. I know this might be an unpopular opinion, but I'm gonna go with a C rank on this one. I don't think it's as good as Mushroomy Kingdom, but it's still better than Rainbow Cruise. They're both C tiers, but the reason why Rainbow Cruise is C tier is because it just feels so lifeless, like they don't do much with the stage, while 3D Land's problem is that it's mostly flat and it's not like it feels inherently interesting compared to, say, Mushroomy Kingdom, because Mushroomy Kingdom not only had a more unique concept, but, you know, it was a little bit more crammed in the right ways. Like, you know, you had the level design of World 1-1, so the blocks were always in the way, and you would bounce off them constantly, and it wasn't, like, as strict as 3D Land either. Like, the blast zones, they are a little bit bigger than they look. I think the stage goes into C rank, honestly. Golden Plains is a really fun stage. I think my only negatives would probably be that aesthetically, it's not awful, it's actually pretty good looking, it's just a little bland. Like, this feels like a 3DS stage that didn't really feel like it was upgraded too much, you know? The main gimmick of this stage where you have to collect 100 coins to power up, and you get like red rings, you get the 8 red coins, and you get the blue coins, the P-switches. That's a pretty fun thing. It kind of like, I wouldn't say it like distracts you from the battle, but is a neat little way to make the stage feel more different than other Mario stages. I like that it transitions from different areas instead of being like a straight up auto-scroller, so it feels like you don't have to collect coins while it's also having not to deal with a blast zone that's constantly moving, which is pretty nice. The level design's a little bit simple though, which I guess makes sense given that it's based off World 1 of New Super Mario Bros. 2. I don't think it really knocks it down that much. I feel like if it was more interesting to play on, I definitely give this an S rank, but I'm giving it A rank for this one. This is a stage I think is super underrated and deserves more love. I wish I could say the same for Paper Mario. Like, this stage isn't awful either. The thing with this stage is that, like, I feel like the only interesting part is the pirate ship, and even then, if we're gonna have a Paper Mario stage, I feel like there'd be better areas. The first area is just like a grassland. I never played Paper Mario, by the way, so I don't know if these are, like, specific locations. Just pointing it out there right now before anyone corrects me. So if I do get it wrong, my bad. But the point is, the first area is just like this basic, like, grass area. You got this wind that's actually really fucking annoying. You got this pirate ship that's okay, I guess. A little too spacious, but nothing crazy. And then Bowser's Castle, where it has this constant rotating head and everything. It's fine, but it can lead to some cheesy stuff, but not in the fun type of way. I don't know. I think this stage is, like, really average. I have no passionate feelings for this stage. This is a definite C rank. Gerudo Valley has similar issues to other stages I don't really like too much, where it's really open, spacious, barren, and really flat. But Gerudo Valley at least attempts something more than, say, Bridge of Eldin. You got the center that splits open similar to Bridge of Eldin, but underneath isn't just a bottomless pit. You got spikes that can launch you up. You got the sisters that form Twin Rova in order to, like, make fire and ice hazards, which is, you know, not the end of the world, nothing too amazing, but it's okay. I think this stage is underrated like Golden Plains, but I wouldn't say underrated where it's like a super amazing stage. I say underrated where I don't think people like this stage that much, but I don't think it deserves to be hated, you know what I mean? So I think this one's gonna go into C rank. Pretty average, but, you know, I like it. It's alright. Spirit Tracks is pretty cool, though. This stage is kinetic and I guess is like a Zelda version of Big Blue in a way, but it is a little interesting given that not only do they have different like formations that appear when they change off screen and everything, but the train track doesn't really fuck you over on the left side of the stage. The right side though, yeah, it's gonna fuck you over, but every other part of the stage is actually pretty decent. I think this one goes in the B rank. I don't have too much to say about the stage that I like besides that it's just really fun, and given the type of stage that this is actually pretty decently surprising. Dreamland Game Boy is actually a pretty good stage. Not to foreshadow a very obvious stage that I'm alluding to, but basically there's a stage like this where it's small, cramped, retro, and basically has all the similar aspects, but the thing is this stage actually has different areas and level design. It's an auto-scroller, but the thing is the whole stage is small, so it never really feels like it's auto-scrolling, and it's not like it does it entirely, it just auto-scrolls to the next section. There's a lot of chaos in this stage, even though it's so tiny. And I feel like I said that word a lot, but like, that's what's so great about free-for-alls, it's chaos. I like Dreamland Game Boy, honestly, this is a banger stage, A rank, this one deserves the A. I really want to like Unova Pokemon League more because Generation 5 is my absolute favorite Pokemon generation, and Generation 5 is also one of my favorite RPGs ever of all time, not just Pokemon, but just of all time. I love that game. But this stage is kind of underwhelming. First of all, it's way too dark. I get it references the ending of the campaign in Black and White, you know, when you confront N and stuff after being the champion. That's all cool and everything, but the thing is, I don't know, this stage is like Spear Pillar but lesser, which in a way is better. It's not as like disruptive, but the thing is, it's just so less interesting. It's cool to see cameos of Zekrom and Reshiram. I don't get why Milotic appears or fucking Whimsicott, but, you know, it's cool to see other Pokemon cameos. The stage like teeters, you know, the stage has like fire and shit. Okay, I guess. Aesthetically it's cool. Obviously I have a nostalgia connection to this stage, but I don't know, this one is really average. I feel bad, but I gotta give this one a C rank. I don't care for this stage. Prism Tower is decent. I think the best thing about this stage is like the spectacle of when you're moving around and traveling to each area and you see Lumio City in the background. I don't find the different layouts terribly interesting, but you know, the background's really cool, going around the actual Prism Tower itself and seeing it in close detail, that's really nice, and you get like cool Pokemon cameos, my personal favorite in the stage being Zapdos. I'm glad that Pokemon doesn't tend to have like shitty stages, but a lot of these are also pretty okay, and I think this one goes into C rank. I like it enough to where I don't hate it, but I just feel like if it had more interesting areas for you to travel through. I know that it's called Prism Tower, so you can't travel through like the whole city, but it would have been kind of cooler, I guess. I don't know, maybe I'm just asking too much. The next couple of stages are certified bangers, starting with Mute City SNES. The fact that we have, like, Mute City 1 in the original Super Nintendo style as a Smash stage is super cool to me. I like that we have these two other platforms to actually help make the stage actually feel like a stage without compromising the original style. You get to interact with Captain Falcon, Dr. Stewart, Pico, and Samurai Goro. They get to, like, bump into each other. You get, like, the original sound effects. You get, like, the healing saucer thing, too, whenever they go in the healing area. It's such a cool stage. Like, if you're a fan of the original F-Zero, this is an easy banger stage, and I think this one goes into S rank. This stage is awesome. I think Magicant gets a super high ranking for sure, just for the amount of love and detail in this stage. Like, the stage itself, pretty fun. You got these three platforms, you got like a little one underneath, and then you got like this beautiful scenery. Like, okay, let me just say right now, most of my love for the stage comes from the look and the detail. I think the easiest example to notice is like in the background, sometimes you'll see like a ripple and it'll show actual footage of Mother 1 and 2. I think that's really cool. You got cameos such as like enemies from Mother 2, like the walking funny little plant. You got Big O references, you got Andonut Skyrunner. You know, the Flying Man gimmick in of itself is really cool. You hit it and basically it helps you out, but when they die, the little tombstone appears and you get 5 each. It's really cool. You got like the little houses from Mother 1. You got like the rivers from Mother 2, and just the look of it is just so interesting. Like, this is easily one of the most vibrantly colorful stages in the game, and it's just gorgeous. The stage layout itself is also really nice. I think the platforms aren't like too like cramped, like they're just spaced just perfectly right. You got this little underneath platform. Sometimes you get a platform in the form of the Dungeon Man. Like, that is such a cool reference too. Like, he just walks around and you get to stand on top of him. I taunt on him. I love taunting on him. It's just so funny to me. This stage is awesome. I think, I don't know, I'm teetering with A and S. A part of me wants to go with S just for how much love and detail it is, but I also have to remember, if it's S rank worthy as a stage, and as a stage, I think it's A rank. Like, I really, really want to give it S, but I know for a fact that for me personally, this is A rank worthy. Now we're up to what I believe is the best Fire Emblem stage in Smash, Arena Ferox from Fire Emblem Awakening. I'm not a fan of when Smash stages are based off like a generic looking area. Like there's exceptions like Mushroomy Kingdom, obviously that makes sense for Mario. As someone who's a huge Fire Emblem fan, it's my favorite franchise ever, it kind of sucks that some of the stages are bland and generic, and I'm glad to say that Arena Ferox is not the case because not only is it based off a specific location, but it's a very fun and interesting stage. So I think I'll spend my time praising Arena Ferox and save my issues for when we get to Coliseum. The stage itself is kind of like a Fire Emblem version of Pokemon Stadium, where you have like this flat area with a giant crowd watching you in a giant arena, Coliseum, Stadium, whatever. Occasionally the floor will change to like different layouts and hazards, which I all think are very fun and interesting to traverse through. Arena Ferox is one of those few stages that I think was executed perfectly. Like there's nothing wrong with the stage at all. Some could argue this is definitely my Fire Emblem bias showing, but considering the Fire Emblem stages we have in Smash, and let's just say not all of them are going to get a higher enough ranking like Arena Ferox, I think this one goes into S rank. This is such a flawless stage, like easily one of the most flawless in the entire game. And to cap off our set of banger stages, we have Reset Bomb Force from Kid Icarus Uprising. The first area is fine enough, you know, it's not too big or too small or anything, it's really the second area that makes this place shine. For those who haven't played Kid Icarus Uprising, basically in Chapter 11 you're introduced to Viridi and the Reset Bomb. When it hits, it basically kills all life on it and it basically resets back to like nature and shit, because that's what Viridi is, the goddess of nature. The second area is pretty crazy because there's so many corners, so you think you'll die like 180 and you get launched by something, but you just keep going back and forth and ping-ponging all over the place. You got like this, I forget the name of it, but there's like a fish enemy in Kid Icarus, you see in the bottom as like a hazard. That's kind of funny, I guess. You know, it's aesthetically so pretty too. Like this is such a beautiful stage as well, and I think it has probably one of my favorite aesthetics in the entire game. I love Kid Icarus Uprising and I love this stage, and I was really considering S rank, but I think if the first half was a bit more interesting, I put it in S rank. I think I could go as high as A for this one. This is such a banger stage too. So you know how I said the next few stages were bangers? Well, these next few stages, for the most part, are kind of run-of-the-mill, which is unfortunate. Nothing outright awful for most of these stages, but definitely nothing amazing either, starting with Tortimer Island. Tortimer Island's okay, like, it's just so flat and empty. Like, the water with the shark is funny, I guess, but that's really it. You know, the stage doesn't do much for me, and it's not like I'm a super huge Animal Crossing fan. I played New Horizons and I've enjoyed it for the most part, but I don't care for the stage at all. Like, this is really boring. I hate to do this, but this one goes into D rank. This one just kind of sucks. At least other stages that are flat, that are walk-offs, or are just mostly flat, have some sort of interesting, unique gimmick around them. This one doesn't really do that, because if you want to play a fun stage of water, I'd recommend something like Great Bay or something. When recording these stages, I wasn't actually sure if I liked or disliked Balloon Fight, and this is what I got from actually finally playing the stage again after so long. I love the concept, the stage's size is fine enough, the Pac-Man syndrome is a little weird feeling, but nothing bad. My only issue, once you go into the water, that's it. Snap. Boom. The fish is right there instantly, and you gotta mash the shit out of that fucking controller if you want to get out. Other than that, I have no real issues with this stage. Those weird twinkly star things that hit you, that's kind of stupid. You know, the spinny balloon fight stick thing, that's whatever. I think the stage aesthetically is great. I love the stage aesthetically as a retro stage, but the fish is the only thing that really annoys me. I think I'm going to put this one in C rank too, because honestly, I'm actually surprised at how kind I am to this stage, because I thought I was going to be way harsher to this stage. I'm glad that's not the case. Living Room's on a similar boat where it's like really bland and stuff because it's just a flat walk-off, but I'll give credit that the falling toys and the blocks and stuff, those are pretty funny at times. That's unfortunately all the stage has going for it. I don't care for Nintendogs. I think aesthetically the stage is fine enough, I suppose. This one goes into C rank, pretty perfectly average. I don't care for Find Mii, and the stage is just okay. Like, I don't know what you want me to say. The stat boost, don't really care about. Sometimes the platform coming back up and down, don't care for. Aesthetically, it's okay. The Mii in the cage is actually kind of a downgrade from the 3DS version, because at least if you were playing locally with people on the 3DS, you all got to laugh at a certain Mii in common. This time, only you can see a Mii from your data, so only you're laughing at the joke. So, again, don't care for it. This is probably a D rank, honestly, only because there are other C ranks, I think, that are at least more interesting than this. Tomodachi Life has a similar issue with the Miis where only you can see them, but at least this stage is a little better, I guess. The blast zones are a little bigger than I like them to be, and I don't know, I don't really like traveling through the stage too much because you have to go up and down and scale this building, you know? It's aesthetically okay, very bland, but I could give it a pass at this case because, you know, Tomodachi life, you don't have to go super crazy. I guess I'd put this one in C, only because, you know, it's better than Find Mii, if I could give credit for anything. Capping off the 3DS version of Smash 4 stages, we have PictoChat 2, which is 50-50 for me. There are some parts I love. I love when the pipes appear, or the escalators, you know, that's pretty funny, but like, you know, there are some annoying ass fucking hazards. I think the one I could give as a prime example, because I don't care to remember all the annoying hazards, is the fucking sink. The sink could go fuck itself. This stage is like, so basic. Again, I can give some slack for because it's not supposed to be super complex. It's PictoChat of all things. But I don't think anyone is really passionate about the stage. If you love the stage, that's great. I don't care for it. This one goes into D2. If it was more consistent with much more better hazards, I would definitely be nicer to this stage. Maybe I'd give it a C, but I gotta go with D on this one. Mushroom Kingdom U had potential to be kind of a bland stage, if I'm being honest, but thankfully, it's the opposite here. While it's nowhere near the best Mario stage in the game, I do like the different areas you actually go through, and the fact that Kamek is the one that like magically changes the area, kind of like how he does in Yoshi Island when he changes bosses. I know he does this in the new Super Mario Bros. Series, but I always affiliate it with Yoshi's Island. Out of all the areas, I like the mountain and Sky World the best. The mountain world just looks really cool, and the Sky World is probably the funnest because even though it's like kind of small and crammed, it's not in a bad way in my opinion. The castle is also pretty fun, you know, you got the rotating two like rectangular platforms and the water spouts and the urchins, it's pretty cool, and you know, the regular grassland's fine enough. The random falling icicles, while random, is also pretty cool. I honestly think this one goes into B tier, which is kind of surprising. I didn't think a stage from a game I don't care about was going to be really good, but I like this stage, it's nice. I wish I could say the same for Mario Galaxy, because Mario Galaxy is a good game, and it's a pretty stage, but I do not give two shits about the stage. It's once again a lame walk-off, but this time it has a weird curved gravity and two platforms very spaced together. That's all there is for this stage. The blast zone is a little too small, so I don't feel like you get to really take advantage of the gravity, and I know they can't do something like super complicated to replicate Mario Galaxy, I totally get that, but I don't know, I feel like something like Rosalina's Observatory would have made more sense for a stage where you could do more stuff with it, you know, just having this base was as good at Galaxy, right? I'm pretty sure, I don't even care to remember, but the point is, I don't care for stage D rank, it's pretty, that's the only thing stopping it from being an F. So remember when I said that Mario Circuit from Mario Kart Wii was a pretty bland, forgettable stage? Thankfully, the exact opposite from Mario Circuit from Mario Kart 8. While I would have preferred Rainbow Road to return from 3DS and Mario Circuit from Mario Kart 8 to be in together in Ultimate, if we had to take one, at least Mario Circuit U, Mario Circuit 8, whatever the fuck, is a really cool stage. This is one of the few traveling stages that actually has really interesting locations and hazards that actually mean a damn. And by that, I mean the ceiling. This ceiling is fucking funny. This alone gives it a high ranking. I'm not even kidding. I think Smash 4 is when we finally started to get, like, really good, like, traveling stages. Most of them, anyway. And Mario Circuit is no exception. I think this one goes into A rank. I don't have much to say about it except that I just love this stage and I think every area is fun in their own way. Skyloft is loads of fun. First of all, this stage is just oozing with detail from Skyward Sword as it takes basically all of Skyloft as a background. I never played Skyward Sword, but I'd imagine any Skyward Sword fan would absolutely love this, just for the details alone. As for the areas, once again, like Mario Circuit from Mario Kart 8, really fun areas. This is a traveling stage I feel like that was done right. I actually like this better than Mario Circuit, but I'm also going to put this one in A rank because I don't have that nostalgic attachment and I don't think the areas are S rank worthy, but they're definitely A rank worthy. This is an awesome stage. I'm sure most of you are probably expecting me to rank Great Cave Offensive pretty damn low, and I'm going to be honest, hell no. Great Cave Offensive is awesome. Now, before you guys mention that, yes, it's a big stage, yes, there's the lava gimmick, yes, it's hard to see if you're all spaced away, I totally get it, but I love this stage. It's aesthetic. First of all, let's talk about the aesthetics. I think that we could agree on is really nice. This stage is beautiful. Probably one of the most beautiful stages in all of Smash. The amount of colors and details and different, like, divisions of areas and shit, it looks so nice. Again, I don't care for Kirby, but god, I love the aesthetics. The lava gimmick is actually a benefit to this stage because if you couldn't die at 100%, this stage would take fucking eons. I mean, it does anyway, especially if you have one person in the group that decides to actually run away the whole fight. That's not really fun, but that's not the stage's fault. That's just the player's fault. I think this one goes into A rank. I know it's a super unpopular opinion, but I absolutely love this stage, and I always have. This stage has always given me fun memories. I absolutely love it. Kalos League, unlike Unova League, is actually loads of fun. There are 4 different types here that all represent the Elite 4 of X and Y, and I absolutely love every single area. Okay, maybe not the water one as much, which is weird considering water type is my favorite Pokemon, but, you know, it's water that pushes you. I guess that's okay. But you got, like, the Steel type with spinning swords, the Dragon one that can sometimes have, like, Rayquaza, which I don't think we got at all during our recording footage, but, you know, we were trying to get a move on, so we weren't, like, trying to go for it over and over. We have like spinning swords that fucking in the steel type one, they fucking like hit you and they ping pong you. That shit's funny as fuck. In the fire type one, when those pillars rise up, holy shit, the chaos is amazing. This one, I was thinking of A rank, but the more I thought about it, nah, this one goes into S rank. This is such a great stage, and it's a good legal stage too, so that's a bonus. It's pretty as fuck, fun as hell. Yeah, S rank for me. I probably gave the first impression that I probably don't like the Coliseum stage because I mentioned that I have kind of like some issues with it when I was talking about Arena Ferox that I alluded to, and I do, but it's not so much of the stage itself, more so the presentation and the idea of the stage. Back in Smash 4 for Wii U and 3DS, you can make the argument that Arena Ferox was for the 3DS version, so the Wii U version had Coliseum as sort of a compensation. I'm glad that we have both stages instead of just one, but I can't help but feel like Coliseum's kind of redundant. It's based off of the arena mechanic from Fire Emblem. Basically, if you haven't played Fire Emblem, certain maps will have like a little Coliseum you could go on and you could wager gold to basically get double the money if you manage to win. If you don't, you die. They're risky, but you know, they're cool. I actually really like this mechanic, and seeing a stage that represents it is nice. But it's also like, it's just a Coliseum, you can't do much with it. But I can appreciate what they do with it is some decent stuff. It's definitely one of the best, if not the best walk-off stage in the game. And by that I mean a pure walk-off. I don't consider Green Hill a pure walk-off because it has like a giant slope and the floor could fall apart and shit. So like, I don't think that's considered a pure walk-off. That's just my opinion. Maybe that's objectively wrong. I don't really know, nor do I care. The point is, I do like Coliseum. The aesthetics are very similar to the Game Boy Advance version of Arenas, or Shadow Dragons, for example, where it's like more of a beigeish color, you got sand, you know, it's grand looking, I'll give credit there, but compared to Arena Ferox, and it's so empty feeling, and yeah, I get it, it's nice looking, but I don't know, I feel like if all these like things in the background were like up close, you know, like say, look at this footage of the Game Boy Advance version of the Arenas, you see how like there's a crowd up close, you see how like you're right on the sand floor, you know, everything is all big and in your face. Coliseum is so far and out there, and yeah, I guess if you pay attention you could appreciate the detail, but like, I don't know, I feel like other stages do a better job at having really good background details you can notice even in the heat of the battle. This is one I don't think works that well, and that's a shame considering it's a fucking arena, it's a Coliseum, you'd think it would work in that sense. Again, I do like the stage as, you know, it's a pure walk-off, but the platforms that like rise up and down, you know, it's interesting enough, and I do like it more than the actual other pure walk-offs. I think this one goes into B tier, and I think most of it has to do with Fire Emblem bias too. Definitely helps, you know, the stage have a higher ranking than I normally would give it, but I do find it okay enough. You know, definitely not average, but I feel like there could have been more with this stage. I don't know, I'm weird like that. Flat Zone. This stage sucks. I could go into like so many reasons why it sucks, but I mean, to put it simply, it's small and it's chaotic in a way that obscures you, which really sucks. I'll give credit that the Lion's Den is really funny. That shit is actually kind of enjoyable, but all the other sections are either bland or fucking annoying. The gas station being the worst of it in my opinion. I think they should have done something where like you'd have one specific area from a Game & Watch game and just have that be the stage. I think Smash Flash 2 does that if I'm not mistaken, but that's a fan game, so I think this one is pretty obvious, but this one goes into F. Palutena's Temple is easily the biggest stage in all of Smash, and it's such a fun stage. I feel like it's trying to replicate temples similar to New Pork City, but it actually does the job so much better than what New Pork City tried to do. Aesthetically, I mean, it's beautiful. It's Kid Icarus Uprising, what do you expect? But like, each section is fun in their own way, you know? It's not like Great Cave Offensive, where even though I do love that stage, it didn't really like promote camping as much. Like, it's still there if, you know, you want to do it, but you don't really tend to see that in Palutena's Temple because, you know, it's kind of like regular temple in a way. The Palutena's Guidance is also a cool feature of the stages someone's playing as Pit, where they get to talk about a character, and I'm not gonna say like every single one of them obviously, but if you want to know my favorites, it's Megaman and Piranha Plants. I fucking love these. As for like, you know, the actual stage itself, I think my favorite area probably goes to like the indoors area. This whole like stage is basically reminiscent of like chapter 20 of the game, and in that sense it actually does a really good job of referencing it. I like the right side of the area because that stage has a lot of funny stage spike situations. You know, the top area is pretty funny too because that's where a lot of like item chaos can happen. The breakable bridge is cool. I think everything about the stage is pretty nice. I don't think it's an S rank because it is super big and sudden deaths are almost guaranteed to happen here, but in a way that's still fun. I think A rank is fair for this stage. I think Gamer's a pretty good stage. It has a lot of personality and charm to it. The gimmick where mom catches you and you know, it fucking hurts you or shield breaks you, which I just found out during recording, it's pretty cool. The layout being random is also really nice. I don't have too much to say about the stage, but I do like it. I think this one goes into B rank. Pretty fun. If you ask me which Wario stage I prefer though, I still prefer WarioWare Inc. I think it's much more interesting, but Gamer has charm. Similar to Distant Planet, Garden of Hope is okay. I think the gimmicks are a little more interesting, the crab's pretty funny, and the stage being a bit more expensive is nice, but This one goes into C rank too. Pretty average. I have nothing to say about the stage, I just don't care about Pikmin at all. Wii Fit Studio is actually a much better walk-off stage than I thought it was going to be. I still prefer Coliseum, but I like this over stages like Bridge of Eldin, for example. I guess this one could go into C rank. It's kind of tiny, but it's okay. I think it's alright. Boxing Ring is kind of cool, I guess. You know, it's cool that you actually get like an actual boxing ring as a stage for Smash. You know, you got like the ceiling lights that fucking break in and fall down, that's pretty cool. The background having characters with like nicknames and shit, that's always a neat thing to see. The only thing about the stage I don't like is the tightropes. They're kind of annoying. But other than that, this stage is fine. I guess I could put this into C rank. It's decent. I'm not really a big fan of Gower Plain. It's such a chore to travel on because this big stage, unlike other big stages, feels spacious and empty to a point where it kind of feels bland. Metal Face appears in like more awkward areas than I would like him to. I don't really find him fun to really fight, and he doesn't feel like he makes the stage that interesting. Sadly gonna put an F tier for this one. I feel like a Xenoblade stage that's big could have been cool, but this isn't it for me. I think Duck Hunt is one of the few exceptions where a retro stage is actually done in a really fun and charming way. I love that you could hit the ducks and actually play Duck Hunt to a point where you could get a perfect round. I think the layout's pretty nice. The style looks great. I would have liked to see how a Duck Hunt stage would look with like modern aesthetics for Smash, but you know, retro style makes sense, and I think the stage is really charming. The only nitpick I have for the stage is the fact that like, if say Duck Hunt actually like appears and he like goes out of the bush to grab a duck or laugh at you, it could kind of interrupt you. A little annoying, but nothing that bad. I'm gonna put this one in A rank. I don't have too much to say about it except that it's just really charming, it's neat. As for Wrecking Crew, this is a retro stage I don't think is really done very well. It's not like it's the worst thing in the world, but it's super awkward, and like I said, obscurity chaos is not fun to deal with. There's way too many times where like the levels kind of like go down and then it kind of makes you get interrupted. It's a chore to travel on, similar to say Gower Plain. And I just don't like the stage. The blast zones don't feel like they should be this small. Stage looks okay, kind of reminds me of a street in Saints Row 2, but that's a really weird thing to reference, I'm aware. I think besides the decent look, I think the only thing I can say is a positive is the fact that if you go inside of a can, you have like these little googly eyes. That's a little funny. Otherwise, F tier for the stage. This stage is not fun at all. Pilot Wings is decent enough. You go throughout Wuhu Island, which is the next stage, funny enough, and I like the bridges as hazards. I know it's a weird way to start this stage description, but that's the main thing I like about this stage. Going from plane to plane's okay. Kinda wish recovering wasn't a little awkward on the stage, but other than that, it's fine enough. I guess this one goes in the C tier. As for Wuhu Island, the brother-sister stage or whatever, I think the stage is a lot better. It's a traveling stage that's pretty decent, has some fun areas, a little less fun than say Skyloft or Mario Circuit from Mario Kart 8, but it's still a really nice stage. I think this one goes into B tier. Pretty fun. Windy Hill Zone from Sonic Lost World basically takes all the Mario Galaxy issues and gets rid of them. It has the curved gravity thing kinda like Mario Galaxy, but unlike Mario Galaxy, there's actual terrain here. You got some platforms, you got a cool windmill, some springs. There's actual love and care I feel like that's put into the stage, at least in terms of a level design perspective. Aesthetically, it's really beautiful too. I kinda wish there was more added to it in the background, kinda like some waterfalls or more like plant life and stuff, you know, like there are former Battlefield stages with really detailed backgrounds, and I kind of wish Windy Hill got this treatment too. It's cool to see the flowers and the critters in the background, and there is some structures in the background, but like, it's not much. I don't know, it feels more barren and empty compared to Green Hill Zone, and I think that's my biggest downside with the aesthetics. This level's actually really fun, and you know, I know this is Sonic bias too a little bit, but I'm gonna give this one an A rank. I don't think it's at S rank material, but I've always had a soft spot for the stage, so I think A rank is definitely what it deserves. I want to like Wily Castle more, given that I'm a huge Megaman fan, especially of the classic series, but I kind of feel like some things about this stage are kind of lacking. First of all, in terms of terrain, it's just a giant brick with occasional platforms, and to be fair to the platforms, they are different compared to other stages. They actually move around in interesting ways. In fact, until this very recording where I was actually recording for the stage, I didn't realize that the curved platforms that go in like a half circle are from Mega Man 4 and Brightman stage. That's something I never noticed until actually recording for this fucking video. But the point is that they do take essence from like other Mega Man stages, but I kind of wish we got some more like Wily stage stuff in this. Like, I don't know, it would have been cool to see other hazards from the Wily stages, or like, other bosses. Like, okay, so Yellow Devil's like the big thing in this stage, and a lot of people hate Yellow Devil. I like Yellow Devil. I don't mind him. I wish there was hazard toggle so I could just have the platforms, but, we can't have it, so oh well. But, like, Yellow Devil's fine. My problem is there's not enough bosses. Bosses are a big part of Mega Man, and it's one of the most famous things about it, whether it's the Roadmasters or, the actual bosses of the Wily stages. And in that case, I get it that not a lot of them are, like, marketable, but I feel like the only other one I could think of off the top of my head would be the Mecha Dragon from Mega Man 2. It would be so cool to see that reference in Smash. It's around the same size as Yellow Devil, so it's not like it's too big or anything. Aesthetically, it's a really nice stage, but I kind of prefer how it looked in the 3DS version of Smash. The daytime version actually matches more for like the Japanese cover for Mega Man 2, which is what the background tries to emulate. I think the nighttime look is fine, and I'm sure it's more preferred by people, but I don't know, I was always more of a fan of the daytime version. As much as it sucks to say this, I gotta put this one in the C rank. I wish I could rank it higher, especially as a Mega Man fan, but I think if they did more interesting stuff with it, and I think if the terrain was more interesting, like, you know, add more bosses or, you know, more interesting platforms or hazards, I think we would have a really solid, maybe A or even S rank stage, but nah, gotta go with C. Pac-Land. Oh man, what a mess of a stage. I don't hate this, like, this is not F tier, I'm just gonna say it right now. But I will say it is a very messy stage. Everyone will always bring up the fact that Pac-Maze should have been in Ultimate instead of Pac-Land. I argue both being in would have been fine, but it sucks that we got Pac-Land instead. It's a neat idea to have, like, the whole arcade Pac-Land as a stage. I get it, that's kind of cool in a way, but it's like, oh, where do I begin? Okay, the look of the stage, it's ugly, but, you know, for the time, I'm actually sure it was probably still considered ugly. The areas, I don't like the mountain area because they don't count as ledges, like the actual rocks. That's really fucking stupid. The fact that you could actually go from like sunset to nighttime is cool. We only did this stage one time during recording sessions, so we only showed up to sunset. I didn't care enough to actually show up to nighttime. I don't think anyone is going to be upset that I didn't show it off. I mean, who really gives a shit? This stage gets a D tier. Like, I know most people probably expected F, but like, the thing with me is that like, I feel like the F tiers are ones I genuinely hate. I don't hate Pac-Land completely, so I think D tier is what I'm gonna give it. Okay, so you're probably wondering where the fuck is Town and City? Okay, so, I kind of forgot Town and City existed as a for fun stage too, because it's a legal stage, so in my mind I registered it as not a stage to, you know, rank, even though I'm gonna be ranking Final Destination in the Battlefields eventually, later on the end of the video. So, I kind of forgot to do that until around Pac-Land, where I'm like, wait a fucking minute, I'm looking back at my footage that I have, and I'm like, where the fuck is Town and City? So, oops, but it's like, oh well, not the end of the world. Point is, I'll rank it right here. Basically, it's Smashville, but better. The platforms are interesting, and there's a lot of creative stuff that can happen on the stage, whether it's legal or for fun, so I think this one goes into B rank. That's it. Mario Maker alone in concept is really cool. I love that there's like literally thousands of layouts that you could get, but unfortunately for our recording session, we kinda got some blander ones, which is probably my only issue with the stage. Your enjoyment for the stage can be a little bit up to chance. I do like that you actually switch between the 4 Mario themes, but at the same time, I kind of wish you could just have, like, one theme only for, like, a stage. Like, you could have, like, an input to make it a certain theme, because if it was up to me, I'd pick the Mario World or Mario 1 theme every time. This one gets an A rank. The consistency problem is the only thing that stops it from being S for me. Suzaku Castle is really pretty, but similar to Congo Falls, not that fun to play on. It's not awful, unlike Congo Falls. Like, you know, at least I could manage with this stage. But I don't know, I feel like there's like the one stage in the game that could have actually benefited from being like a pure walk-off, given it would have looked more like the Street Fighter stage, and I think that would have been kind of fun if they did something kind of like that. We do later on get not 1 but 2 stages that kind of emulate that, but we'll get there. For now, I unfortunately gotta put this one into D. I think this one's a little too tiny and cramped for my liking. At first glance, Midgar definitely seems like it'd probably be a D rank, given that it's just a battlefield layout, but it doesn't have like the iconic nature like Dreamland or like the simplicity of being Battlefield. But thankfully, we have the summons for that, and it makes this stage actually really, really fun. Out of the 5 summons, my favorite is Leviathan, the one that like has like the water and everything. He's really cool. Odin's cool. He like cuts the stage in half, and you know, it doesn't really end up hitting anyone a lot of the time. I wish it would, but oh well. Bahamut's cool. I love his laser. I don't know if I'm pronouncing his name right, but he's cool. Ifrit's fire's okay. You know, it's not as cool as the water, but I do like how it actually makes the stage like go pushed up and like to the side. It's actually pretty cool. And the electrical one, he's probably my least favorite only because he does the least amount of chaos, but he's okay. Regardless of what I think of one summon or another, I think the stage is super fun, and I was thinking of S rank at first for this stage, but even though the chaos is really fun, it's a little too much at times depending on their like what happens in the match, which I know could happen for any stage, but I think Midgar is definitely one of those cases where it definitely happens the most. So I'm actually going to bump it down to A rank. I also don't know much about Final Fantasy. In fact, the only Final Fantasy I've played is 4. I'm until like the part where you go to like a dungeon and you can't wear metal or some shit. Point is that I haven't played 7, I have no attachment to 7, but Midgar's still a cool stage, A rank. Umbra Clock Tower is not really fun, if I'm being honest. Like, it's okay. It feels like Final Destination with random up and down platforms that just stay for a bit, and I feel like there'd be fun with it if, like, there were more solid platforms, but they're not, so it ends up just feeling kind of like a weird, mismatched, chaotic version of Town and City, but not like the fun chaotic. I don't know, I don't care for this stage that much, D rank. And now we start the Smash Ultimate stages, starting off with New Donk City. New Donk City's kinda cool, I love the city aesthetic and everything, but it has the Prism Tower problem, where it's like, it's a traveling stages, but the locations are pretty standard, and you're always going around this one building rather than like the whole city throughout, which I think would have been cooler. I think the stage is like, okay, I guess I could give it a C rank just because it's cool looking, and you know, it's not awful. Great Plateau Tower, at first I thought was going to get a D rank because it didn't like seem like much, and I didn't remember much of the stages, I never really picked it. But after playing it, I kind of realized, you know what, this giant like structure in the center is actually pretty fucking funny. I actually really enjoy it. When it gets destroyed, you do get a platform instead of nothing, so at least there's that, but I kind of wish it never got destroyed at all, because if it was there the whole time, the amount of funny shit that could happen on the stage would be like, not limitless, but it'd be a lot, which I think would be cool. I think the main purpose of the stage is just being a really big spectacle, especially for the background, considering it's Breath of the Wild, and you know, you're supposed to take the environment in and everything. And I think the stage does a good job at that. It's nice looking. I think this one actually gets a B rank. I know it's a weird placement for the stage, I feel like, but I don't know, I feel like this goes in B. I don't think it's average, and I don't think it's super amazing. Oh, good lord, Moray Towers. This stage fucking sucks. I shit you not. Okay, so this is what happened during a recording session. We're in the stage playing, and a fucking internet disconnection problem happens for someone, I forgot who. Point is that we decided, you know what, we got enough footage because I don't care about this stage, and we fucking went to Dracula's Castle because fuck this stage. The slants are so awkward to go through, and it's pretty looking. That's all it has going for it. F rank. Absolutely not. This stage is fucking awful. I wonder what ranking this stage is gonna get. Alright, so before we give the obvious S ranking to the stage, I'm just gonna gush over it real quick. I absolutely adore the aesthetics for this stage. The darkness filter and the gothic look just looks fucking outstanding. This is absolutely one of the best looking stages in the entire game. I love that if you hit a candle, items appear just like in Castlevania, and the cameos. Oh my god, the fucking cameos. Where do I begin? Okay, my absolute favorites. The Mummy, Akhenaten 2. Everyone knows this is my favorite. If you've seen me play Smash, if you've seen me stream, or you join my arena or whatever, you know that's my picture. I fucking love this fucking Mummy. You got Medusa and the bus, which appeared more than I like to, but we'll get to that later on. Then you got fucking Carmilla. Oh, Carmilla is so fucking cool. There are just so many cool cameos. The Frankenstein's monster. You know, we managed to get fucking Kid Dracula and Dracula to appear in the same round. That's the rarest one at all. You just get their silhouette, but it's so cool to see. You get Death. Oh, Death's also one of my favorites. I fucking love Death too. I think his design here is based off Lament of Innocence, but I'm not 100%. The Werewolf from Rondo of Blood, which I think first debuted in the X68000 Sharp whatever the fuck game for Simon. Who cares? Point is, they all look fucking great. I do wish I had more, just to sound a little spoiled real quick. I wish that we had, like, say, the Phantom Bat, the first boss from Castlevania 1, or maybe some more Richter bosses, like Dogether, or I don't know, the Minotaur would be kind of cool. And it would kind of make sense since Richter actually takes control of the Minotaur and the Werewolf in Symphony of the Night. Fuck it, even put the Hippogriff from Symphony of the Night. I don't think anyone cares to have that in Smash, but I would. I care about this fucking bird. I won't try to mention too many more bosses, but the last two I want to mention that absolutely should have been in because they're super iconic, whether it's because of just it being from Castlevania 4 or because one of them is super fucking hard, but Slagra and Gaibin from Castlevania 4, they also appear in Symphony of the Night as the first boss in that game, and they're also in the Netflix show for Castlevania, so that's pretty cool. The stage layout itself is actually really cool too. You got like the staircase from Symphony of the Night where it's like broken and shit. You got oh god, the way the clock tower looks is great. You got bats flying around. The layout's great because it doesn't feel like too small or too big. You got like this big center area to fight in. You got the slope staircase and you got this one little ledge to the side. It's all great. This is a fun fucking stage. If it wasn't for Green Hill Zone being in this game and my nostalgic connection for Green Hill Zone over Dracula's Castle, this would probably be my favorite stage. And I know it's so super fucking obvious and biased. I don't give a shit, it's my tier list. Mementos is a pretty cool stage. I like the fact that it actually has a different color scheme depending on what song you play, whether it's in Persona 3, 4, or 5. 3 being blue, 4 being yellow, and 5 being red. And I didn't realize this until playing, but in Persona 4's case, they have like a little TV with Teddy on it, and they reference the fucking Midnight Channel. It's fucking awesome. I absolutely love that. I think if it was just this layout, it'd be kind of okay, but thankfully you got like random walls that appear, and ceilings too. You got like this train underneath that could cause some chaos. I just think this stage is actually really, really fun. I'm gonna put this one an A rank because, honestly, all the extra stuff really helps this stage a lot. Yggdrasil's altar is really cool. I absolutely love the spectacle of this stage. This stage is gorgeous, and I love how you go through like the entire overworld of Dragon Quest XI. My favorite part being this giant, beautiful, magical tree. The layout itself is pretty decent, considering that it's just like a main platform or a few extra platforms, but there's so much charm and personality put into this stage. You got like these monster in the boxes. I know it's the Final Fantasy term, but I don't care to know what it's called in Dragon Quest, where they can attack you, and I completely forgot about them until Lucian and I got hit by them. I even went up to one to see if it'll actually kill me, and it actually did. It was pretty funny. I love the enemy cameos like the slimes and whatever the fuck these ghost face things are. In fact, the slimes jumping off the map is my favorite part. That's just funny as fuck to me. This stage is really beautiful, and while it has a simple layout, I think this one goes in the B rank. The amount of charm and personality this stage has definitely knocks it up to B. A very low B, but still a B. Spiral Mountain absolutely makes sense as a Banjo-Kazooie stage for Smash, and I think they did a really good job with this one. Similar to Yggdrasil Altar, I think this one definitely has a more simple layout, but it's still fine enough. You know, you got your main platform, a few extra platforms, the occasional walk-off with the bridge to Grunhilda's lair, and you got like the lower platform on occasion too. It's okay. The charm and personality of this stage is definitely what carries it up. The fact that you have like the actual like just Spiral Mountain area and you get this like spiral around it is actually really cool. You get like cameos of like Banjo's sister, you got Mumbo Wumbo Jumbo, whatever the fuck, you got Bottles. It's all pretty cool. Even Grunhilda herself actually appears too. It's pretty nice. Similar to Yggdrasil's Altar, I think this one definitely gets a B rank. I think the charm personality also carries this one up a bit because it's still simple, but it has so much care put into it that you can't help but appreciate it. The King of Fighters Stadium stage I know is really, really loved, and I do like this stage, but a part of me has one issue. I can't stand how fucking inconsistent these walls are. Things that should clearly kill don't, and things that shouldn't kill do, and then sometimes you think you're gonna kill, but it doesn't. It's more of a me problem, I get that, but I don't know. The stage is also completely fucking barren and empty. These walls, like these invisible walls, are the only thing that stops the stage from being like completely boring, because it is somewhat funny at least. The character cameos are also really cool. I didn't really know about King of Fighters until after Terry was introduced, so now that I actually know some of these characters, I always pop off when I get to see them. My personal favorites being that of Athena from Psycho Soldier and Yuri from Art of Fighting. I also have a soft spot for Mary Blue too from Fatal Fury. Although a shame we don't have Whip though from King of Fighters, she's my favorite character, so rip I guess. I know this one's definitely going to be an unpopular opinion, but I think I could only really put this one in C rank. Garrick Mach Monastery is both really cool and also not cool at the same time. I played Three Houses, so obviously I get the love and attention and detail and stuff to the stage. You know, it's completely accurate to the overworld of the monastery in Three Houses. I do love the character cameos. I do wish some characters got in over others, but I do love seeing them. My personal favorites being that of Hilda, Ingrid, and Edelgard. Edelgard is also best house leader, by the way. I think my main issue is just that it's all just variations of a walk-off, so it's not really that interesting. Like, yeah, this stage could still be fun, but it's not terribly interesting compared to other ones that are like in B or A rank, you know? I think it would have helped if we could like maybe fight on top of the monastery, kind of like a Hyrule Castle 64 situation or something. I get that wouldn't be completely accurate, I get it, but it's like, I don't know, I feel like it could have been interesting. I think this stage gets a C rank, which is kind of disappointing. Like, yeah, there's love and attention put in this stage, but unlike Yggdrasil's Altar or Spiral Mountain, I don't think this stage holds a candle to having a good layout. I think this one just gets a C rank, sadly. Spring Stadium seems like a mess stage at first, and it's not like the best stage ever, but it's kind of cool. You got these spring platforms, while they can be awkward at times, can work in your favor in really funny ways. You got the ceilings, which are pretty funny to deal with. And while the center platform seems low-key pointless, it's not that bad. This stage is actually pretty cool. I give this one a B rank. I like it a lot. I think this is actually slightly above average. Minecraft World is just really fucking cool. I kind of wish that when you destroy blocks that are like spawned in the map, I wish there would be like more to it, because once you're destroyed, that's it. You just got a flat fucking stage. But you know, the different biomes are cool. The background elements with like the mobs and villagers and stuff, that's really cool. This stage has a lot of attention put into it. I think this one could go into B rank. Northern Cave I wish was cooler. Like, okay, the aesthetics is not the problem with the stage. It's absolutely captivating. I love the background. It's absolutely beautiful. The fact that it tells a whole story is actually really cool. I never played Final Fantasy VII, like I said, so don't really have any attachment to this stage, so unlike, say, stages I have a nostalgic bias with, I can't really push this up to B. I gotta give this one a C. The layout is way too simple for me to really care about the stage compared to others. Cloud Sea of All Rest is definitely better than it looks. I think the stage is fine enough. It's a little weird considering that it's just a giant, like, you know, creature that slants and turns his neck and shit. In fact, the amount of weight that could be on this dude's neck is actually pretty damn funny. Like Northern Cave, this stage is an absolute spectacle. I love the giant creatures that could appear, or like the hot air balloons. I never played Xenoblade Chronicles 2. I got 3. I started 3. I'm not far into 3, so hopefully I get into it. So maybe I could play 2 eventually and actually have attachment to these characters, because the only ones I care about off of memory is Nia and Morag. This stage's small size is actually somewhat of a benefit, and I do like the look, the layout's decent. I give this one a B rank. Mishima Dojo is like similar to King of Fighters Stadium, but I actually think this stage is a lot better. It's more consistent, and the walls can actually break, so it's not like, you know, you have to deal with like, oh, will it or will it not kill type of shit. This stage could be kind of fun, and I do like that it's not too big, so matches don't feel like they take forever. This one gets a B rank. Hollow Bastion. I know this stage has a lot of love put into it too, and a lot of people like this stage, but I don't know, I never gave a shit about this stage. I have played Kingdom Hearts 1, but I was a young kid when I played it, and even though I have gotten it again for my PlayStation 2 collection, I haven't actually taken the time to sit down and actually play through it. Circle button for jump, he's fucking awful. You should be fired for thinking of that. But that aside, this stage is still decently cool. My favorite part is actually whenever like someone has like one stock left and you actually get the background to change into like the Heartless area, whatever fuck it's called, and you actually get to see a character in the background. I was hoping to get footage of Aqua because she's my favorite cameo personally, but sadly we only played the stage once because we were trying to just finish everything already. We were right at the tail end of finishing this recording session. We had every stage completed except for this one and the Smash stages, so we were like, shit, let's just do it one time. We need to get this over with. We were playing for like 3 hours straight. Also, for some reason, there's no Kairi cameo. I don't know why. I like Kairi, she's cool. Most people probably aren't gonna agree, but I just want to C rank. It's too average for me to care. Like, yeah, the aesthetics are cool, and again, a lot of love and detail, but, you know, if the layout is too bland, I don't really care. And that just leaves us with the Battlefields and Final Destinations. I know most people thought I forgot about them considering that they're the first 4, but I thought they'll do them for last because they're like the Smash original stages. So let's just start with Battlefield. Battlefield is very standard, you know, it's a triplats, nothing really to say. I mean, what do you want me to say? It's C rank. Small Battlefield, definitely better because you don't have that top platform to actually get stuck on, which I actually appreciate. I love Small Battlefield. The blast zones feel great. It's like Pokemon Stadium 2, just lesser. I'm gonna put this one in A rank, honestly. Big Battlefield's cool, but you really need 8 players for this one to actually be super fun. 4 players, it's okay, but, you know, it's really expansive. It's designed with 8 players in mind, so I'm not going to give it, like, flack for being kind of with 4 or less players. This one could go into C rank. And last but not least, the iconic Final Destination. This stage is pretty cool. It's, you know, it's the regular basic Final Destination platform, but the aesthetics are really nice. Point is, Final Destination is a standard you could get. This is also a C rank. And that about does it. That took a lot longer than I thought it would, but, you know, I kind of had fun making this for the most part. So here's the final tier list. You know, evaluate it as you will. If you disagree with some stuff, agree with some stuff, I would love to hear your guys' thoughts. I love sparking conversation with the stuff, especially when it's Smash related. Other than that, that's pretty much it. The next big tier list I'll be doing will be the final Smashes, but that's going to be a bit later on. I'll do like other tier lists in between that are definitely a lot shorter than this, and also other videos I might have planned, so stick around if you want to hear about that in the future. Thank you as always for the support, and happy night hunting.